Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are y'all today? Let's see. Yes. First and foremost, happy Father's Day. Wishing everyone a peaceful, quiet, and safe and healthy Father's Day. So if you are watching this, there's a chance that you didn't go out and celebrate, because usually the timing is quite tight. So today's topic, COVID-19, living with COVID-19. The volunteers originally gave me a topic. Actually, I'm kind of using that topic. What is that topic? Let me pull it out. So it was, let me see. Finding peace before, during, and after COVID. I think that this topic is probably something that may resound in many people. Before COVID and after COVID. We're still in the during phase. So I'm thinking the before is over already. We cannot go back to before, because it seems like the COVID-19 is here to stay. It's an unwanted guest in a way, but we have no choice in this matter. It's here to stay. We have started the phase 2. We just started the phase 2 for a few days. So have y'all gone out to the restaurants, to the shopping mall? I don't know. Let's take a look. Today's topic. I decided to change it to living with COVID-19. Because there's a high chance that it will be around for a while more. In a way, I want to open up for you all to ask questions today as well. Because today is, today is not the last day of the month. Next week we are actually having a urban retreat. So you all can sign up if you like to. So as a result, next week there will be no SGC. So so if you have any questions, you can post on to the comments. I have it running below. Otherwise, I will just touch a bit on this topic, but I also want to maybe extend it to touch on living with others. So COVID-19, this pandemic, at this point in time, I think it has claimed 8 over million people has gotten infected. Let's look at today's update. As of today, 8.5 million people have gotten infected worldwide. there are 456,000 cases of fatality, and these are the known cases. These are the reported cases diagnosed to have COVID-19. There may be many others that are actually due to COVID-19, but we will never know. In Singapore, we have 41,000 cases that has been confirmed. 7,000 cases are active. 7,500 cases are active. Recovered cases is 34,224. We have 26 cases of fatality. A few months back, we had one session on COVID-19. I shared about how we should try to instead not to spread fear, instead of letting ourselves succumb to the fear and anxiety. We should spread compassion. Since then, a lot has changed. So let's see. Nobody seems to have any questions today. So, how to live with it? In a way, I'm not necessarily the best person to talk about this topic. Because in a way, it has not really affected me. I was talking to some students. For me, COVID-19 has been quite a blessing, in a sense, because of the circuit breaker. We have a lot more quiet time. I heard from another senior monk, Bhante Siha. He was sharing how he quite enjoyed this circuit breaker, the one that just passed, because with the center closed, he has time for himself to do his study, to do his reading of the suttas without interruption. So, but I understand that for some people, being restricted in terms of our movement, in terms of our lifestyle, that can be quite something that is troubling. So how to live with it? I think I will not be covering things like the medical aspect of it. I think there are a lot of articles, there are a lot of public service announcement telling us, and I think by now most of us are more accustomed to wearing a mask when we go out. In fact, I was thinking about how in some countries, the countries like Taiwan, places like Hong Kong, these are places that, from what I observe, they are used to wearing masks even before COVID-19. Part of the reason is because there was the SARS infection before. The other is, I heard in some large cities, the air is quite bad, the pollution is quite bad, so they are used to wearing masks. The other aspect of it is civic consciousness. So to be civic-minded, so if you are sick, then you wear a mask. But now in this case, whether you are sick or not, we have to wear a mask. So I will not be touching on this aspect, because I think we have been bombarded with this for quite a while. And by now, if you are still thinking, you know what, let's not wear masks and see what happens, then you are really playing with rolling the dice. Yeah. Some years back, there was this natural disaster. Yeah, there was the Sichuan earthquake. Yeah, some time back. So a student asked me, by becoming a monk, you have less resources, you have less ability to help with the earthquake. If you had continued working, then you can provide and give to the disaster relief aid, and so on and so forth. So I thought about it. I said, well, that may be true, but on my own I can only do so much. But being ordained, I can encourage people and galvanize others to help with the relief aid. And perhaps even more importantly, the Dharma teaches us to help solve such problems. But the question I have was, before the earthquake, were people having peace? Were people okay? Were they happy? With the earthquake, of course, there's a lot of pain and suffering. Yeah. Similarly, with COVID-19, there's a lot of pain and suffering that people are experiencing. And even those who are not infected, yeah, the rest of us, we have restrictions. Yeah. And there are also those whose livelihood is affected. So what can we do with all this, yeah, with the Dharma? I think the Dharma, the difference that the Dharma can make for us is, with or without COVID-19, how can we live in peace? How can we be happy, or at least live in harmony with one another? With or without a job, how can we still live an upright life? Yeah. I've heard from students who share with me that various industries are affected, and I think this is something very real. Yeah. So what can we do? What can we do to find peace within this COVID-19? So maybe you all can share with me, how has COVID-19 affected you all? Yeah, and leave comments inside leave your thoughts in the comments, and then we can maybe have a sharing on this. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm thinking of maybe sharing a bit about living in harmony with one another. Yeah, because I have witnessed firsthand, not at my place, but I've seen how because of COVID-19, because of the what do you call that? circuit breaker, and even now we are at phase 2. A lot of people are working from home. I see that there are a lot more tension between people because of the close proximity. Yeah. So that's one area I want to talk about. Yeah. So close proximity. Sherry says that it has affected her mom a lot. Maybe you want to share how it has affected your mom. Hui Hun says that we discussed a similar topic before, yes, and we stopped at being attached to bubble tea. Yeah. Loss of job and freedom to go where we want. So we have loss of job. Loss of freedom. Focus. Lots of changes, steep learning curve in ICT tools for teaching. Need to role model growth mindset for students and teachers. Blended learning is the new norm. Yeah. Yeah. So work from home. Yeah, so this work from home is somewhat linked to the close proximity. Yeah, and this is also linked to the loss of focus. How do we focus at home? Yeah, the loss of job and loss of freedom is another set of problems altogether. Chloe says, circuit breaker made me lazy, but I enjoy the increased personal time. I get time to sign up for online courses and can join SGC online. Yes, very good. So happy that I don't need to travel on crowded public transport. Yeah, actually for me that's one of the upside as well, not having to do the travel to class. I find that travel itself actually drains us physically. Yeah, but of course there's some downside. Yeah, as Marcel highlight, there's no face-to-face spiritual service, so the contact time is a bit lesser, as in the depth of contact perhaps is a bit lesser. So yeah, the new norm, I think a lot of courses and classes, not just Dharma classes, but a lot of other classes will become more and more online, and perhaps become a combination of online and offline courses. Yeah, because even before this, a lot of university has made their classes online and open to the public. Yeah, so this is going to be the new normal. Yeah, like it or not. So there's the upside, we don't have to worry about the travel. I'm going to just shift this to the side. So no travel time. So let's Alison says, able to attend so many online Dharma talks by Shifu from Spain. This was not possible before. Yeah. So So let's just start off with one of them first. Yeah, this thing about close proximity. How many of you feel that you are getting to spend time with your family members, and that's a good thing? I heard from some, well, like some of you mentioned that you are happy to actually spend time with your family. Yeah, like Ming Hui says that you get to see more of your children. Yeah, but it sometimes cuts both ways. Yeah, because as a result, the dynamics between people has changed. Yeah, before that, parents would go to work, children go to school, and then you all come back home. And because of that absence, that separation, when you come back home, there's a bit of that freshness, you know. Yeah, as they say, absence makes the heart fonder. But now, parents are becoming the school coach, the tutor, the assistant teacher, and at the same time, you still have to do your work from home as well. Yeah, and from the children's side, I think I don't know whether there are any students who are currently studying. Maybe you all can comment on it. Yeah, but I think for children, some of them may enjoy the extra time with their parents. Some of them may feel like there's a reduction in privacy. Yeah. So I want to touch on this thing about privacy for close proximity. Granted, if you stay together, you stay together as a family, right? Yeah. But because of the increased contact time, it can actually cause some stress and tension. Yeah. So I want to just briefly touch on one simple point, which is something that I mentioned before. Yeah. Learn to leave your family alone. I know this may sound strange, you know, all the thing about caring for one another, but we may have to learn to do this. Yeah. Leave people alone. Yeah. To learn to leave our family members alone, to leave people alone. It may sound contradictory, yeah, that we are used to saying, okay, if we love someone, we should give them time, we should like spend time with them, yeah. But what I found out is, I think it's a matter of measure. So finding the right proportion is important, yeah. And of course, it's always hard to find and strike the balance, yeah. So, what do we mean by leaving people alone? So, in the Buddha's time, there was this person there was this monk who would go on alms round. He would go on alms round and he would do it by himself. He would basically do everything by himself. So the other monks were like, is this right? So they thought about it and they went to consult the Buddha. And the Buddha called the monk over and then advised him and verified with him. And upon finding out that, yeah, he does everything alone, he commended that, you know, it's good to practice like seclusion, not isolation, seclusion. But he said what you are doing is physical seclusion. Yeah. But there's another kind of seclusion which is a bit different, which is that when you come in contact with what you see, not to grasp what you hear, not to grasp, and so on. that you don't grasp onto whatever you come in contact with your senses. Yeah. So when we say that to leave people alone, it doesn't mean that we simply just don't interact with one another, but perhaps not to bother, not to disturb people. Yeah. This is a bit tricky for parents and children. Yeah, because parents have this duty to guide the children. Yeah. So let's leave that aside first. Okay. Children that is maybe 16 years old and below, 20 years old and below. Yeah. Where they still need guidance, they still need the parents to like take care of them and so on. But in Singapore, many young adults in their 20s are still staying with their parents. And with the circuit breaker, or with the current and the ongoing COVID-19, people who stay with their parents may find more and more tension. Yeah. So if your child is staying with you and they are already above 20 years old, perhaps it's time to learn to leave them alone. Yeah. It doesn't mean you stop caring for them. It means you give them space to decide how to live their life. Yeah. And it also means that we have to learn to be contented with just minding our own business. Yeah. Minding our own business. So what has this got to do with the Dharma in a way? In a sense, from a certain angle, it feels like it's nothing much. But when we mind other people's business, yeah. So here we have minding our own business versus other. Yeah. This is all about in a way it's about control, and this is about the self, about the ego. Are we caring for other people with our ego, that we want to care for people and we want them to live their life according to how we think it should be? No, as I said, the first category, the category where we are talking about children, then it's fair game. Parents have the right, have the duty, as far as Singapore is concerned, to attend to them and to make sure that they are doing the right thing. But beyond that, if your children is already 20 plus years old, staying with you, it's up to you to set down certain ground rules. But beyond that, kind of learn to leave them alone and attend to your own. Attend to what you need to do. I think very simple. If you can do that, I think between people you'll live in harmony. Now, bear in mind, it doesn't mean that you don't care for one another, but it means that you care without that ego in place. You take the me out of the equation and care more about the them. Really care about them and not care about whether they are well according to your standard. So that's what I want to touch on today about close proximity. And then working from home, I've heard from students, I heard from my sister about how it can be distracting as well. The focus. Just now, I think Ming Hui mentioned about that. So This is where it becomes trickier, because if you are staying with your parents are more elderly, or with your children, then how? Because the disturbances, or when they come to interact with you, that's something you can't really stop in a sense. Well, you can always lock the door, yeah, but when you're at home, then tendency is you will think about, when you will see them perhaps, and you may go and attend to them. Yeah. Sometime back, or rather actually quite many years ago, I visited this center. They have this very interesting practice. Yeah, a very interesting practice. Which is, whenever they hear a bell, whether it's the phone ring, or it's the chime, the clock, the grandfather clock, or anything, when they hear a bell, then they'll stop whatever they are doing, and they'll just observe 3 counts of breath. Yeah, they'll stop talking, they'll stop their task, and they'll just observe their breath. I think this can be applied perhaps to our current work from home as well. That even when you are working from home or not, every message that comes in do not require you to instantly attend to it. I think for many people, even when they work from office, we are bombarded by emails, by messages, yeah, by con call, and so on and so forth. Yeah, such that oftentimes we cannot complete one piece of work. Yeah, so for the longest time, my phone's notification has been off. Yeah, so no ring, no whatsoever. I can afford to do that because I'm a monk. But if you can't, then perhaps you have to learn how to live with it. And one way is what I learned from that center. And it is basically that whenever there's notification, you use that as a reminder. Instead of associating that with urgency, with anxiety, with messages, you treat that like treat that bell like this one. Yeah, like as though it's this. And when you hear this, you just observe your breath until the sound has subsided, or you observe 3 counts. So that's another way. Yeah. I think that can help us within the context of work to stay a bit more focused, and maybe to sit down with your family members to have some kind of arrangement that there are certain time where it's strictly no disturbance, and then there are certain timing where still okay, and maybe give some exception, like life and death. Sister is drowning in the bathtub. Yeah. Oh, I didn't call you because you said this is a no disturbance time. Yeah. So maybe have some arrangement with your family members, so that even when they need to engage you, they engage you only when really needed, or during your break time or something. Yeah, and remember to take breaks. I think for many people at work, we do take breaks, but ironically, when people work from home, the whole thing become just interlinked. So sometimes we may work very long duration without taking breaks. Yeah, and for some people that I know, working from home become a hazard. Yeah, because you end up sitting there for hours and hours at end, whereas in the office, your colleagues may pop by and talk to you, so you get shifted, and you don't just get stiff up, or your colleagues may chill you to go and get coffee, so you move around. But at home, there's no colleagues to come and ask you to do that. Yeah, so have to regulate yourself. Yeah, so that's that. Saikyang Joyce says getting paranoid when someone keep coughing. Yeah, I think this is something that can be scary. Yeah. But what we can do is take due diligence, and if you see anyone who is like out without mask, maybe just gently remind them. If they refuse, then if you're able to, then submit a case to one service. It's not about telling on others, but it's about getting people to be more responsible. So Chloe mentioned about becoming lazy. Yeah, but it has an upside: increased personal time. I want to perhaps also touch on, so we touch on this, loss of job. How? Over the years, I have actually helped some students to look around. Not all cases find job through me, yeah, but I think, well, because I may be in contact with a good number of, on Facebook there's 5,000 friends. Maybe if you have a loss of job, the most direct way is to help you find a job, isn't it? Yeah. Some students may say, "Oh, Sifu, can you do some chanting for me to find a job?" Well, I can do that. Yeah. There's this 准提神咒, the 20 Bodhisattva mantra. It's said to like fulfill your wishes. But if I can help you find a job, then I can fulfill your wish directly, right? Yeah. So the other day, a student just asked me whether he can post a job request onto, or rather, not job request, that there's some company that is looking for hires. So asked me whether it's possible for him to post it on our group chat, the Telegram chat. So I told him to send it to me because I rather screen through it and perhaps not flood the chat group. So that's one option. I'm a person who feel that the simplest solution is always the better solution. Yeah, it's a corollary of the Occam's razor. Yeah. So if you don't need 大悲咒, don't use 大悲咒. Yeah. Like if you are hungry, just go and get food. If you are thirsty, go and drink some water. Like what I'm going to do now. And if you are sleepy, just go and sleep. Don't try to use 大悲咒 for everything. So similarly, if you lost your job and I can help you with it, then maybe I'm the answer to your prayer already. Then you keep on asking me to do prayers for you. Yeah. So, but of course there are people who have who always don't seem to find the right match, and they do some chanting and it can help them. Yeah. The way I see it is when they do some chanting, it quietens their mind, it helps them to be more at peace, and so they have more clarity. And with that clarity, when they are out looking for jobs, they see more clearly what is suitable. Yeah. And perhaps to some extent, then their wholesome karma may ripen and they may find the right job. Even more importantly is when you do go for the interview and ultimately get the job, how do you deal with it? Do you go to work with clarity in the mind or not? So a number of you all mentioned that with the COVID-19 you have more time. Yeah, I think that is definitely the case. So daycare centers are closed. So for Sherry, her mom lacks interaction with friends. She gets weaker and weaker in terms of mental and physical. Yeah. Maybe we can try to arrange for some volunteers to visit now that we are in phase 2. Yeah. Yeah, but we do need some, we do need to provide that for people. Yeah. Maybe those of you who have elderly parents who go to daycare can maybe PM me, and then maybe we can, work something out. Yeah. And again, so like in this case, I'm not going to recommend chanting Dharma or anything, okay? I think we should like come up with actual solution for people. Jaslyn Go says, chance upon Sifu classes now, and now I'm following your classes. Oh, nice. I have more time for practice, but facing challenges at work as I find relationship with boss can get strained. Discussion lack human touch, easy for misinterpretation just from tone and how one talks. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And sometimes just the lack of contact time can create suspicion. Yeah. So some students have shared. I heard from some that like certain companies, they will at least have a video call once a week. Yeah. And even when they have meeting, they will just start off the first few minutes to have FaceTime at least once a day or something, so that they maintain that human touch. Then when they go into the details, like looking through spreadsheets and so on, then they turn off the video, they just share the screen and so on. Yeah, that can help. Yeah. The one thing about work, I find I've heard from different individuals who come to me for counseling or who happen to mention to me that they sometimes feel like certain colleagues are, doing things that is detrimental to them and this and that. So in one of the classes we discussed this, and some students think that no, people are nice and we should always be positive. And there are some people who think that no, people are always out to get you. So to me, these are two extremes. What I do know is that we don't know. We almost never know. We can guess, we can speculate, we can come really close, but we don't really know. And to me, the earlier we come to terms with the fact that we don't know, the better it is. That we don't know what people are thinking. Like now, if I were to ask you to guess a number from 1 to 50, yeah, or even 1 to 30, 1 to 20, yeah, if enough of you guess at the same time, there's a chance that one of you might get it, but that'll be purely just statistics, bell curve. The truth is we can't guess what people are thinking. So maybe people are really out to get us, maybe people are not. My take is we should not expect that people have to be nice to us at work. We should do our due diligence. That like just the other day, someone shared with me about how in her work there are certain tasks that she need to update the HQ, but then her HOD, her department head, tells her verbally that the department head is going to update. So she's like, okay, sure, then you go ahead and update. But some days, some weeks later, it turned out that the department head didn't update, and then the HQ actually sent a reminder. So in her opinion, the HOD, the department head, actually sabo her. So then I was like, okay, so but did you send out an update to the HQ that to close the loop? Yeah, to close the loop meaning that the usual arrangement is that she will update the HQ. But since there's a change, then she should close the loop with both parties, both the HQ and the person, in this case the department head, who has, offered to do the update. This way, the person who is supposed to do update knows that, can confirm whether he or she is going to do it, and the HQ know who to chase. The trouble is, many people would just assume that, well, the person already said that he's going to do, so the person should do. Yeah, the thing about work is, it's not about whether you should or not, but to make sure that the job get done. Yeah, it's not about, it's too late after the fact to say, oh, who should do what. Yeah, but rather to just do your due diligence to make sure that people know what they are supposed to do, and people do what they do, what they are supposed to do. Yeah, and I think in many of the cases that I've counseled, if people just send out that one email, then you'll solve a lot of problems instead of waiting until after the fact. Yeah. So that itself cannot solve the human touch. Yeah. So good to have video calls as well. So Hui Lun asked the question, like, he is, I think he's a guy. He is enjoying the time working from home, being able to spend more time listening to Dharma talks and with family. Yeah, but he has a very interesting concern. That in due time, when this thing blow over, we will get back to work. Will we get used to it? I think we will. It's a matter of time for us to get used to it. Yeah. And I suspect, like many courses, I think a lot of company is going to go into a hybrid mode. Yeah, this will reduce costs. Office space is always a luxury. So I think even before this, many companies have tried hot desking. So now with this work from home, companies would be seriously considering the possibility that maybe some staff can work from home a few days a week, or maybe on certain days. Yeah. So Tick Y says, is it like watch over them but not micromanage them and give them breathing space to grow and realize? Yes. Yeah. This is related to being with our family members. I recently shared with my niece this idea about stacker versus accountant. Yeah. So I'm not against stacker, okay, and I don't look down on stackers. I told her, I said, I worked as a stacker before. Yeah, before my uni days. I think I worked as a stacker, when was that? I worked in Emporium during the school holidays. Possibly before NS. Yeah, possibly before NS. Yeah. So as a stacker, what you do is you stack things. You stack things into the shelf. And so together with us, there's the foreman, there's also the supervisor, and then there's the manager. So every morning the manager will have a short meeting with us to tell us, what's up for that day, especially when it's the start of the shift. I think we have 2 shifts, one morning shift, one afternoon shift. So when we start the shift, there will be a short meeting, and the manager will tell us whether there's any shipment coming in, what are the outstanding things to look out for and to clear, and so on. And the rest is basically just throughout the day going through the shelf and stocking things up. Yeah. So there's usually the foreman, and to sort of like make sure we are doing our work, and there's a supervisor to supervise our work. The funny thing is that I mean, now that Emporium is already long closed, it's funny. The funny thing is, after the meeting, when the manager is gone, you would think that the supervisor and foreman would actually get the rest of us to start work. Instead, actually, many times it's the supervisor and foreman who get the rest of us to go for coffee break, to go for tea break, to go for smoke break. I don't smoke, but they smoke, so I end up having to go as well. So it's quite funny. Yeah. I as far as work is concerned, I don't have that kind of mindset to skive or to take breaks unnecessarily. Perhaps it's because I'm young, so I had the energy to just work. But it was tough work because you're standing the whole day and then you're physically carrying things almost the whole day. So I remember there was once I actually looked at some shelves and I was thinking, maybe those items can go into the other shelf and those items can go to the other shelf. So I can swap them or something. So I went to the manager and suggested swapping items. So she looked at me like I just suggested to go and, I don't know, invent a car or something. Yeah, I remember that she had the most amused look, or like confused look, like what? But she just, just said, okay, just go ahead. And later I realized that it's because that's unlike what usually comes from the stacker. That by and large, most of the time the stackers would just stock up the shelf without really looking at the big picture and say, hey, maybe this item should go there. Yeah. And by and large, the stackers usually need external push factors. Yeah. I'm not saying that all stackers are like that. I wasn't like that. And it's not to put down any particular profession, but it's to highlight that there are certain roles, certain jobs that is more mechanical, that where the work nature itself is more task oriented, less planning, less independent, and require closer supervision. Yeah. Then on the other, at the other end of the spectrum, you have professionals such as engineers, teachers, accountants, executives, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So this, on the other end of the spectrum, are professionals who work in a very different manner. At this far end, you don't tell them exactly how to do their job in most cases. They are professionals, they either already know how to do their job or they can figure it out. All you need to do is tell them what you need from them and they will sort it out. Yeah. So usually when we say my manager is micromanaging me, then it means that you are actually working in a professional field and your manager is coming to you too frequently and stipulating how you should be doing your job. Yeah, that's usually not advisable. This is usually not healthy for the staff nor the manager. So usually managers manage, the team as far as the outcome is concerned. They don't usually interfere with the process itself unless something really bad happened. Yeah. So compared to the stacker kind of work, the stacker would usually need close supervision, and the instructions given are focused on the task, what to do, how to do it, and not so much what this is supposed to achieve. Yeah. So the achieving part is managed by the manager themselves, where they look at certain deliverables. So I use this analogy with many parents and children, that children fall into these two categories, and sometimes it's a mixture. By and large, children who are younger tend to be more stacker than, let's say, accountant or engineer. But depending on individual temperament, some may be more stacker, some may be more engineer or accountant or teacher for that matter. And as the child most would slowly shift from being a very stacker, yeah, being a very stacker mentality kind of person, to being more independent, self-managing, like a professional. Yeah. So with regards to the question of not micromanaging, it depends. Yeah, but now with work from home, then the dynamics have changed. Yeah, so I have to take into consideration whether your child, especially when they're below 20, whether your child is more stacker or more teacher, accountant, engineer for that matter. Yeah, because I find that many parents suffer burnout, or either that or suffer from disappointment, saying that, oh, how come my child is not independent enough? How come they need me to keep on hawking over them, then they do their homework? But your child is at the stacker stage. You can't expect them to be independent yet. Yeah, so if your child is at a certain age or certain temperament at this stage, then you have no choice. You have to micromanage them. You have to, or rather, define clearly that the tasks that you need them to do. Similarly, for managing, I think, mates. Yeah, recently I come across some case on, conflict with mates. Yeah, I think it is not across the board that all mates are of a certain type. Yeah, but it's up to individuals to find out which part of the spectrum, yeah, whether more stacker or more accountant your mate is. Then you have to manage them accordingly. No point spending time ranting and being upset over your children or your mate or your staff for not being the way you want them to be. Yeah, you have to just see things as they are, so to speak. Yeah, and recognize that if your mate, your child, your staff is of a certain caliber, then the best way is to manage them accordingly. Yeah. So let's see. Suyin says that she liked the peace, quiet, and flexibility of time working from home. Yeah, excellent. Getting used to having meetings online instead of face to face. Having discipline to do work from home. Yeah. Yeah, Joyce says that her dad liked to go out and sit in a coffee shop with his friends. Yeah, as our parents grow up, they become like kids, Yeah, so we have to take on the tough role of being parent for them when they are older and maybe not able to make the best decision. Sometimes we have to do the bad cop. Yeah. Boss called via Teams even at night, Jessie says. Longer hours. Yeah, I think in Singapore, when the moment we work from home, then it becomes a bit trickier. Many people work beyond the office hours. I'm sorry to hear about your mom, Sherry, that she's becoming weaker mentally and physically. Yeah, let's see what we can work out. Yeah, because I know that there are some students who are not that they are free, but they are interested to spend time to do volunteer work such as this. So let's take this offline. And for anyone else who is watching this video, if you have elderly parents who because of the current COVID-19 state in phase 2 are not able to go for daycare, get in touch with me. And those who are either between jobs, working from home, or is more in control of your own time and you like to volunteer, then maybe we can, do some matchmaking. Yeah. So Takman says that it's difficult to draw a difference between work and personal time. Yes, absolutely. That's what some students shared as well. Yeah. Like at work, you are at work, and you don't do personal stuff. Yeah, or at least that's a minimum. But at home, in between your tasks, then you may just swing by to do something else, then come back. And as a result, we may feel like, oh, we need to do more. Yeah, so have to try to have some discipline on that. Jianing says, tapao a lot, generate a lot of plastic waste. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate all the students who has offered lunch so far. It's been very helpful. Yeah. Different platform for meetings, longer hours. Yeah. So the last thing on freedom. One of my first talk in Singapore was actually on freedom. Yeah. I think it was one of the series of classes with SBF back in maybe 2006 or 7. Yeah. So freedom. The loss of freedom that we are experiencing today is more related to our physical movement. Yeah. And also, of course, by extension, the inability to do as we please. It all boils down to we getting to do what we want or not. Yeah. So this is the kind of freedom that modern society talk about. The freedom to do as we please, the freedom to speak, the freedom to think as we want to think. I think this kind of freedom is fine and good. Yeah, freedom of our body and speech and mind. But in a way, these are external freedoms. In Buddhism, we talk about inner freedom. Yeah, the freedom to be at peace, the freedom to be at ease, to be okay. External freedom is good, but what happens if you don't have it? Do we then lose our inner freedom? External freedom can be taken away anytime, but if you can have your inner freedom, then that cannot be taken away. Yeah. And that gives us the inner peace. When we get to do what we want, we are happy. But when we don't get to do what we want, can we still be happy? If we can, then that's inner freedom. That's inner freedom. So nothing wrong with external freedom. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But if we lose our inner freedom, then we don't have peace inside, we don't have happiness inside. Then even if we go out, we're not happy. Yeah. I like to think that we all know the risk involved. Yeah. Now, if we pursue our external freedom and we go out, whenever we want, and wearing a mask is uncomfortable, yes, especially for us who wear spectacles. I cannot tell you how many times my spectacles fog up. I have to keep adjusting this, to clear it out. But still, for our own safety and for others, I think this is a small price. Yeah. Better to do this, to restrain ourselves a bit, so that we can tide over this safely and keep the keep the losses to a minimum. Then if you were to just say, okay, you know what, who cares, let me just go and do what I want. And then after that you'll lose the inner freedom. After that you'll be spending your days wondering, oh dear, did I get a virus? Yeah. Oh, that place that I went to, even though it was very crowded, I still go in anyway. I didn't care, I didn't think anything less or anything more of it. Oh, but the next day there was news report, there was a cluster discovered. And after that, after visiting that mall, I went to see my parents, then I visited my sisters or whoever. And then after that you have problem. Yeah. Yes, you get your freedom, but after that your inner freedom is gone. Yeah. You'll spend the next 2 weeks worrying. Yeah. Did you get the virus? And did you transmit the virus to your family members who may not be as strong as you physically to overcome the virus? Then how? Yeah, so think about it. Yeah. We all want freedom, but the true freedom is inner freedom, the freedom from suffering. Yeah. And even if you cannot reach that yet, at least have the freedom from worry, yeah, that you get infected or that you infected others. So external versus internal. Okay. Kaylin says that it has become impossible to travel out of Singapore, and we do not know when the borders will open again, and she don't get to physically meet her parents who are not in Singapore. Yes, as I understand, your parents are in Malaysia. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear of your situation, and I know it must be worrying that they are overseas, they are in Malaysia and you are in Singapore, you cannot do anything about it. I have other students who have shared this with me as well, and especially when this other student shared with me that his father, his family members in Malacca, and they were having a hard time convincing the parents to just stay put. Yeah. Yeah, this is the inner freedom part. We are losing that external freedom, but don't lose the inner freedom as well. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了。普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。